Okay, after a small delay, we're getting back on track here, and this is going to be part one of our critique for the assignments you turned in for the motion assignment. So let's take a look at them, see what you got. Well, right away, I can tell you there is a small problem with this one, and that is the sizing. Let me jump into image size, and here is our problem. The width is 100. This is supposed to be a resolution of 100 ppi. And then on the largest dimension, this should be 1,000. Now, trying to bring this little image up to this size is going to take it apart. This is something that should have been done correctly in the first place. Pretty much everything is fuzzy. I'm guessing that this is a sink, and that what we're seeing in the middle is the streak from the water. But something has to be sharp in this. This really is not quite cutting it for us. So let's see if we can find one that is. Same problem. Little tiny shot. We've got to make these the right size. This is the same thing. I've tried to be really careful in each of the assignments to show you how to do this. There is a tutorial at the very first under student information that will show you how to size your images properly for submission. You really got to pay attention to that, because this gives us something that we don't know what to do with. We can't see it. Well, now we've got something that is sized correctly and is showing us the result of panning with motion, and it turned out pretty well. It's a little washed out. It is done so carefully that I'm going to make the assumption that this was done on purpose, that this is a style that you like this desaturated look. So I'm going to leave it talk mostly about the techniques involved. You did a good job panning with the bikes, with the riders, particularly with the lead rider, to get her nice and sharp in this, the background blurred. This worked really pretty well. The composition is good. You gave them a little headroom to move on. So this is a nice result. There's not a lot I could add to this. Were this mine, I would probably want to put a little of the saturation back in. But if this is the way you like it, then I'll let it go with that. Now we have another good catch of the action at the baseball game. The ball is coming right in. He's hoping to catch it. This guy hasn't quite touched base yet. Which is going to happen first? The ball in the glove or him touching base? It's an interesting shot. The only thing I would do is it would be nice if it had a little more room on this side out in here, because the action is really going in both directions here. But this is nice. You did a good job catching this, freezing it in action. Good work. Well, this is right out in front of our building, the CTC building. There's a little vendor with all of their stuff over here. The cars rushing by. It is starting to give a sense of the motion, a sense of the chaos that takes place out there with people moving and cars moving. But what really is your subject? Is it the vendor here with their stuff? If it's the cars, we're not seeing enough of them to really tell us anything. These cars are in traffic, but they're pretty much stopped at the stoplight. These people are stopped in motion along the sidewalk. We don't see enough of this to know exactly where this is going on. So I'm kind of left with the assumption that this is your subject. If that's the case, then I would move in on them more. I would make that more of the subject, so there's no question. when you've got this much room up front of something that you can't really focus on and identify, it creates a compositional issue. But the concept starts to work. It's a good start. Nice little flowing stream coming over the rocks. The label says that this is freezing the motion, and it does appear to be. Here in the water, the droplets are caught pretty much in the air. You're seeing little fine drops of it. So this works pretty well. It's a reasonable composition. It shows the area. The only thing I would do from a technical standpoint is I would bring the highlights down a little so that these lighter rocks aren't quite so blown out. They really are distracting. Remember one of our basic rules: lighter things tend to attract your eye. So we're going right to these when we ought to be going in here. So just tone those down a little. That would be pretty easy to do. I'm going to give it an attempt simply with the burning tool just to see what we're getting. And now you can see with those darkened a bit, with his background all darkened a bit, now we're able to start concentrating on that little waterfall much better. So simple little corrections, and we can really improve this shot. But it's a nice shot to begin with, and it certainly meets the criteria for freezing this waterfall. Let's do another one. Well, we have a couple of dogs playing out at the dog park or wherever this is. You've managed to stop this motion somewhat. We can tell that they're actually in motion from their posture and the activity between the two, so it really is moving along. But as with most photographs, well, all photographs really, your question is, where is the shot? And the shot is here. These two dogs playing, this dog watching them. So what's really going on? These legs are kind of in the way. This guy is superfluous. So I would, again, move in tighter, crop into this a little bit tighter, and really make the shot about the dogs, not about the dog park or the cars over here or the trees or whatever. But it's a good starting capture. Here we have a really nice shot of these two out playing soccer, and you've captured the motion almost perfectly. Are they allowed? I don't know soccer, I confess. Are they allowed to touch each other and to do this kind of thing, or is that not a problem as long as they don't interfere with ball movement? In any case, this really stopped that motion perfectly. They're clearly in the middle of this action. I think you did a nice job. Yeah, it might have been nice to see the top of her head, but from the standpoint of showing this action, you did a good job of it. And here for part one of our critique, here's the last shot of this one. This ghost figure moving along the sidewalk. Very interesting, surreal. It looks like your exposure was so long that you're beginning to blur other things, like you're getting a slight double image on this rock. None of this is all that sharp. So the overall picture is losing a little clarity. You need to be a little bit shorter in the exposure, or have the camera on a tripod to where this part that isn't moving is going to be very still. And then you might try a few different shots at different shutter speeds. One that's this long where you've got this ghosted image in here, and then try a few moving slightly shorter and shorter and shorter durations so you can check the effect. This is one of those times where bracketing can be handy because you can't see the effect while you're taking the picture. You can see it in the monitor, but through the viewfinder, you're not seeing it at all. So it's fair game to start doing a little bit of testing and bracketing for exposure in these. So definitely let that blur. Let's go on to the next phase of this, part 2.